Yeah. So 5:54, we've got 5 minutes till go time. There's the start, there is everyone just walking down now to get in position. Berlin 100 miles, and the feeling I have right now is, what have I gotten myself into? What have I gotten myself into? We shall see. Let's go and have a go. Do what you can with what you've got. That is basically it.
To the finish line.
10 times!
Let's
go! 10 times!
Believe me.
I'm staying with this guy, he knows what he's doing. So we are off. So we're about an hour and a half in, done 2 checkpoints. It's been a pretty bright start, it's already quite warm. We've been through all of the sites of Berlin. We came through the Brandenburg Gate, we went past the Reichstag, all of those things. Feels good to be moving now. And we're just sort of very, very steady, very slow, very sensible, very controlled. One interesting thing this morning when I got ready, I've got pretty much the same kit that I ran the Danube in, sort of. And the time that I got up to get ready, the time that we started the race was almost exactly the same as running on the Danube. So this morning actually felt very much like one of those mornings, which was good for me psychologically because it felt kind of like a habit that I knew what I was doing. Plod, 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 until we don't have to plod anymore. Now, one of the things I think with these races, from the very start, it's very hard to not get your head into those big numbers and start thinking, oh, I've only done a mile, I've got 99 miles to go, or whatever. You start to sort of, you concentrate on the enormity of what lies ahead. It can be really depressing. It's like painting a ceiling, doing like a white ceiling, and you start, you look at this enormous ceiling, you've got a long way to go, and you're not really sure where you've been, and all of that, the task can feel kind of overwhelming. And I find the best thing you've got to do is put all of that to one side for a huge chunk of it and just enjoy moving and forget that you're actually doing the distance, that you're just out for a little stroll. And then bit by bit, eventually you'll come to some numbers that are a little bit more familiar. Been moving for about 4 hours now, then just come through checkpoint 5. We're now kind of way out into the green outskirts of Berlin. So now we're in the Jomping bit, that bit where you just get your head down and keep moving and just ticking off the miles and trying to enjoy it. I mean, it's beautiful and green here. There's a really nice crew of runners. Everybody's really friendly. So we're just moving now, you know, it's about 18 miles essentially, or kilometres. Trying to get the food down at each of the aid stations, really well stocked. There's Apfelschorle, which is great, loads of watermelon at the moment, and moving roughly at about 5 miles an hour, which is a pretty good pace. Might be a little bit fast for me, we'll see a bit later on, but I'm just trying to run within myself, running on feel. And yeah, had a few sort of early doubts. The body doesn't feel quite as on it. The little toe has already started to complain, so that's one thing, but yeah, we just keep moving. You okay? So I've eaten up the first marathon like a good boy in, well, I think it was like 5.5 hours or something. A little bit less actually. I think I'll get the first 6 hours will be 30 miles. So moving at 5 miles an hour, which seems to be kind of it's a pretty happy pace at the moment. I am having some moments where it's quite early to be kind of riding the ups and downs, but I have ridden a few downs already, which is, yeah, it's a little bit worrying. I had a little grumble on my Achilles as well a little bit back there. Twice I had to stop and drop to a walk. I think I'm taking a little bit too long at the aid stations, and I do think at some point I will drop to my walk run strategy and go 4 miles running, 1 mile walking, because I think it's going to be just as quick. Spirits are a bit yo-yoing, but onwards and upwards. One great thing is that the weather hasn't gone to the heat. It's been threatening to rain actually, but it hasn't. At the moment it's just got that kind of nice cloud, bit of breeze. So yeah, long may that last. Just praying that will last, because the longer that goes on, the less of the big burny midday sun we have to face, the better. So I've just reached 56.1 kilometres, 105 to go. This is one of the main aid stations where I've changed the shoes. I've actually ditched the On-Cloud Surfer. I've now got into the Kinvara Pro. Matthias wants me to go. I've got no time to talk. We have to go.
Yeah. The German
is making me go.
Let's go.
Going through a little sucky patch here. Coming up to 40 and yeah, just mind and body having a little bit of a complain overall, but it will pass.
Yes, it is! There's the man!
Hello. Found them! Here they are!
We found you.
The boost that I needed. Are you going to run the rest of it with me? No. Any advice for me? Go faster.
Yeah, hurry up. Daddy's about to sort you right out. By himself.
The runners only. And you have to run.
Off you go! Woo!
Run too fast for me.
I won't, I promise you.
Riley, you think you could do 100 miles?
No.
So just came out of checkpoint, just met the family. Oh, I needed that. Needed that little lift, a bit of food. Then it's quite hard to. Riley ran a bit with me. It's quite hard. I quite want him to come with me for the rest of it. So the sun has finally arrived about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Been moving for nearly 10 hours now, and I have to say the timing of it sucks, because I'm going through another bad patch, and now I'm getting cooked, struggling. My legs have locked up. I've had twinges in my Achilles, quite bad, both Achilles. Yeah, actually just feeling quite beaten up after 50 miles, which is not really where you want to be. So I just need to get to the next aid station and just have a little bit of a reset, see where I'm at. Anyway, yeah, the race is bitten a bit early. 50 miles is early.
There we go. How are you feeling?
I'm broken, man.
He's off. Get on with it.
So I'm coming up to 60 miles, I'm about 3 miles away. Just been to the main aid station where there's a big bag drop where they gave us our kit to change into for the night. I've got fresh t-shirt, fresh base layer. I've got fresh buffs. I gave myself a wipe down, got a clean hat, and I've also changed my shoes. When I went into that aid station, I was in a mess really, I was done. I'd actually sort of decided that that was it, I was going to call it, but I thought, you know what, one more roll of the dice, I'll change, get into fresh gear, change my shoes, because my big problem here is that both my little toes are trying to de-hood themselves, so they sit under each other, and this is why when I talk about the shoes that I was choosing for this, I wanted sort of wide shoes, and I thought Cloud Surfer and the Kinvara Pro might be wide enough, but actually about 15 miles back, both of them burnt and you can feel it, it's like the skin rips, and then that's it. From then on you're basically running and moving the skin off. Last time I did this I ended up in A&E, so I don't really want to do that again, and 45 miles to go is a long way to run when you might be taking all the skin off your toes in like a proper, you know, it's not a small way, it's quite a serious way. So anyway, I've got these shoes on, they seem to be doing a little bit of a job. Got myself clean, I ate some food, had a chat to myself. My sister gave me a card to put in my backpack which I read, and I decided, you know, let's just get back out, see how we get on, and move aid station to aid station. So nearly 65 miles done, and we're now heading into the dark. I'm pretty pleased that I've made it this far, to be honest. I'd go back a couple hours, I was done. The toes are still ruined. That's still a big worry. Not least because I can't run. It's my job and I can't make money testing things. I've got a run club to lead on Wednesday, but we're still moving between aid stations fairly slowly now. Been running for about 15 hours, and yeah, head torch is on, high vis is on, and we are now about to venture into the night. So then it's a few days after the Berlin Wall Ultra where I didn't quite have the race that I wanted, and I've had a bit of time to process the run, the good things and the bad things. Now, according to Garmin, I covered 68.4 miles of the 100. I ran for just short of 16 hours, at almost bang on the 14-minute mile pace that I'd originally planned. That was before a recurring problem with my little pinky toes forced me to stop. Now, being really honest, I'm definitely a little bit gutted about it, because after some big struggles early on in the race with tight calves, tight hips, generally kind of aching, screaming legs very early, and feeling like I was in a battle way too early, I actually managed to stay controlled. I kept moving, and at one point almost all of those grumbles, physical and mental, cleared up. I got through those problems, the body opened up a bit, and I was actually moving well aside from the problem with the toes. I think the left pinky went about mile 30, the second 35 or 40 miles in, and by 50 miles I could feel that I was doing a lot of damage. Thing is that the body, though, it naturally kind of kills the pain, so it still hurts while you're moving, but actually your body has this amazing thing where it sort of dulls the pain, and then when you stop, the pain comes back. So it's almost possible to run through the pain, but you can be doing big damage at the same time. Now, I battled on to just short of 70 miles, but when I weighed up the damage at that point, thought about another 6 or 7 hours on feet and what the damage that would do to the toes, I knew it was time to stop. It was a really tough call to drop out when I felt like I had what I needed to finish the race. I was still on course for a sub 24 hour, which was my original target. If I wanted to, I even had time to walk the last third to make the 30-hour cut-off, and I was still moving generally at a good pace even with those toes. But being 100% honest, I'm not sure I had the desire to suffer the damage that was going to be necessary. I wasn't really willing to sacrifice my toes and face lots of time off running to get to that finish line. Now, I said it before, I'll say it again, desire is really critical when you're running these long distances. If you can't look inside and find the desire, you can't eat distances like the 100 mile, it just doesn't work. Now, back in 2017, when I ran the Thames 100, my only other 100 miler, I was willing to do whatever it took to finish, even with the toes. Or more honestly, I'm not sure I even realised how much damage I was doing until I ended up making nurse's wince in A&E the following day with a completely de-hooded little pinky a bad cellulitis infection, everything that took over a month to heal. Now there's this idea with ultras that you're supposed to suffer anything and everything to overcome all the odds to finish. And I'm really honest here, I'm wondering if I've got a bit soft, but I think I've also potentially moved beyond the point where the finish lines and medals define the adventures for me, and there's something more in it. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather be sat here with a nice shiny Berlin Wall medal around my neck and holding onto a 24-hour belt buckle as well. But running 70 miles around Berlin was still an incredible experience with wonderful people, some really, really special scenery and some history. And I got to share some of that with my family. And toes aside, I know I ran well overall. I was pretty happy with my performance. There are, of course, a few things that I think I'd do differently. I'd start in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 shoes. I think they have a little bit of extra width. That may have helped me. I felt like it did once I put them on. They were my third shoe that I went to. I might have done a little more run walk earlier on in the race as well. I probably would have also packed a little more of my own fuel between the aid stations and eaten more of that between those aid points just to keep my carb spirits topped up, and that might have smoothed out some of the earlier mental ups and downs that I thought I was fighting. And finish or not, you always learn a lot doing these things. I still had to push through some really bleak moments, and I came out strong in many of those cases. And despite not finishing and not getting that to run under that inflatable and get the medal, I really enjoyed this experience. And if you want to take on a 100-mile race but don't fancy one of those mountain ultras with all that climbing and technical terrain, I can't recommend this one highly enough. It's a really great race. It's very, very well organised with aid stations every 6 kilometres or so. They're all stocked with all the good stuff, everything you could want, from savoury sweets, watermelons, 15 different types of drinks, alcohol-free beers, everything it had there. Wonderful volunteers, a really supportive group of runners out on the course as well. Everyone was really lovely. And it's a mix of urban miles, green forest trails, lakeside running, small suburban towns. It's basically got a bit of everything. And if I can get my toes sorted, I will be back to try that one again. Now, a massive shout out to Matthias, who I met at the Comrades. It's his fault I came to do this race. He completed his 10th Berlin Wall Ultra this year. We ran together for a lot of this one before he bounced off energetically. I don't think I've seen someone enjoy running 100 miles quite as much as Matthias, and hats off to him for doing that incredible achievement. And to everyone else who sent kind messages of support for me, they really make a difference, and I really appreciate you chipping in and trying to chivvy me along and get me to the finish. But that was the Berlin Wall Ultra. That was my experience. Thanks for watching. I'm off to fix these toes. Next up, I've got the New Forest Marathon with many of the runners who support me on the Danube who are travelling over to the UK to come over to run that with me, and that is going to be a very, very special event indeed. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and good luck to everyone who's taking on their own running challenges out there. Keep up the good work, and I hope to see you again soon. Happy running, everyone.